Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another Adobe Live for our day 3 of our XD Masterclass with Patricia. Welcome back, Patricia.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for having me to day 3 today.
Yeah, day 3, and it's gone really fast. Like, I don't know about you, Patricia. I know we said it, I think, yesterday, but these live streams are going really fast. It feels like we're on for 30 minutes and the time goes.
Yeah. Exactly. I feel exactly the same. It's crazy. Like the time flies so fast. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Actually, with UX, you need much more time, I think, for like developing an app or like digital products generally. So yeah, an hour is not so much. And and all the questions, right? So yeah, it flies by really fast.
We had loads of questions yesterday, and we're chatting in Behance, everybody. So if you have questions for Patricia today, get into behance.net/live. We're not chatting on YouTube, of course. It's all happening in Behance. And then following the live session, we'll be in Discord, continuing that chat. And we had lots of questions about yesterday. Lots of great people joining again. It's so good to see everybody back. Hey, Kirsty. Hi, Oliver. I can see some more people here. Here we go. Hey, Saldana and Angus. And Gareth, all of the usual suspects back in the room. So
nice, it's great.
Cool. So today is our day 3, and we looked at research at the beginning and getting set up. And all of this is in XD, so we're not starting in another Adobe app and bringing things in, but this is all in XD. And yesterday was design, and today is all about prototyping, right?
Yes. Exactly. So I would say, let's get started. Don't lose too much time. So we can use the hour and learn as much as we can about prototyping. But honestly, I think before we're getting started, I would do a super quick introduction for everyone who maybe doesn't know me or is the first time watching or, haven't seen the first 2 streams. So I'm an innovation designer based in Berlin, and I'm focusing on designing any kind of digital product, so everything around user experience, mostly for products which involve some kind of like innovative approach, which involve augmented reality, virtual reality, but also app design and web design kind of. If you want to learn about like UX, if you're thinking about maybe switching to UX from another area, feel free to check out my Instagram. I'm sharing a lot of information there, which might be helpful for you. So make sure to check that out. I'm super happy to connect there. And I'm also going to do an after work live drink session today at 7 p.m. Berlin time, which should be like 6 p.m. London time, like UK time. So feel free to join. It's a Q&A session. So if you have any questions left, feel free to ask me during the streams. Besides that, if you want to get a little bit into like the projects, what I'm doing, feel free to read some of the articles I'm posting on Medium around different topics about the future of design, about the projects I was working on. I was working on a really big project for a co-living space. And most of the things are very much about new technologies and user experience design. So really interesting. And I'm also on Twitter. So feel free to.
And we're also giving away a prize today, Patricia, and we've extended the deadline, right? So we're giving away a full Creative Cloud subscription for 1 year, and we've extended the deadline to 9 a.m. on Monday now.
Yeah, so feel free to submit your designs to the competition. I think it's a really nice way to get a Creative Cloud subscription. I am super happy to see your design and actually super excited to see what you're coming up with. So I would say you have nothing to lose, so just create your own design. Wouldn't be too difficult if you're following the stream, and then just submit it to Discord and have a chance to win the 1 year Creative Cloud subscription.
And Patricia, shall we go back a little bit into a recap of the design that we did yesterday?
Yes.
For anybody that didn't join yesterday.
Definitely. So generally, I prepared a file for you guys. You can download that for free. It's in a Google Drive, and this file should help you to get started. You have all the information you need on this file. Here's the agenda. So the first day was about concept and research. We talked about the very first steps of the user experience design process, which is research. So really finding problems and ideas and coming up with a concept which really makes sense and solves problem. So yesterday was about design. So we started to design our first interface in Adobe XD. After we came up with a mood board. So this is a mood board I came up with, but yours might look different. Here you have different resources which I find really helpful, so make sure to check them out. And here are the colors we defined, all the useful information which you can use. And today is all about prototyping. So we designed a few screens yesterday. We're going to have a look at that in a second. And our task for today is to make them interactive. So really see what is possible with prototyping in Adobe XD. So yesterday we started to build a design library. I integrated a few more illustrations actually yesterday after the stream because I think they're super nice and they're actually perfect to integrate them in our design here. And I'm not sure if I already showed that yesterday, but what is really great is if you have any illustrations from Illustrator, this could be from a professional illustrator or also from a file you download online. There are a lot of free resources. I actually got them from Adobe Stock, so you need to pay for them, but they're actually pretty cheap. And I think they're looking super cute and nice. And you can just select the illustrations you want, Command C, go to Adobe XD and then Command V, and then you have that here in your file. Place that on an artboard and you're ready to use that in your design. So actually pretty nice. And the good thing is that you can do everything in Adobe XD and you don't need other tools. But if you already have designs and other tools, you can just put everything in one file. So it's not confusing for you and you have everything in one place. So yesterday we already started with a few screens, right? I hope you all remember. So we started with the very first screen based on the sketches we made, right? So I made a few sketches where we can see a little bit about the flow, the different screens and the different elements we're going to need on each of those screens. Like from my experience, that's super helpful. You don't need to do that, but I really love to start with sketches, with like pen and paper, make some sketches, first ideas, and after that come up with wireframes. But this is, I would say, like kind of optional, depends a little bit. Here are some wireframes.
Yeah, and yesterday, Patricia, you mentioned a really good tip that you should always stay in contact with your developer so that there's no surprises when you do the handover. You're not throwing it over the fence, as you said. Because, there are buttons here, that will change and move. And so there's certain interactivity that you'll want to let them know about as you work on it.
Exactly. I'm super glad that you're mentioning that again, because you can't say that enough, because that's so important. Getting your developers on board, talking with them, although, it might be challenging in the beginning, but it will save you so much time and money in the end. So make sure to always align on your goals, on the timeline, on the things which are possible, and have a really nice conversation and start that from the very beginning, I would say. We had a really good example yesterday. So we started with the screen, with the home screen where you have the little search bar. And someone in the chat actually asked, how would you communicate a specific interaction? For example, if someone clicks in the little search bar and it the typography disappears, how would you communicate that to a developer? And I would like to start with that because I think it's a really great question and something, which you can solve with prototyping super easily. So We already talked about the 3 different options here: design, prototype, share. And in the next hour, we are going to switch between prototype and design several times, because we are going to integrate a few more design options in our prototype as well. But step by step, we're going to start with a really quick prototype to show what's actually possible. So let's switch to the prototype mode. Not so much has changed so far, but what we can do now is, if we click on an element, we get this little, I would say, like arrow here. And what you can do now is you can just click on the arrow and drag that to another artboard. We're going to drag that to this one, the home screen, which has the selected search bar here. And then on the side, you get the interaction possibilities, right? So you can select a trigger, which could be tab. So by clicking on that object, we just select it here. By dragging keys and gamepad, this is super interesting if you want to prototype voice, for example. Games, for example, sorry. And we also have voice. So if you want to prototype for smart assistants like Amazon, Alexa, for example, or Google Home. But we are going to go with the tab. And then we can select a transition, which could be, almost, many different things. Auto-animate is something we're going to check out later. We have overlay, scroll down. So here are different options. So you can just, check them out, try what works best for the design. And you have the destination, which is home screen 2. That's correct. We have the animation here, and then we can select some kind of an easing. Those of you who are already who have experience in motion design, maybe from After Effects or so, know those expressions like ease in, ease out, snap, wind out, bounce, etc. Because for different interactions, you know that from motion, right? If you are animating something, you know that there are specific rules you need to integrate, to use, and there are very similar rules for interface design. So let's stay with ease out, and you can also select a duration. So we're going to that a little bit here. And then we can select the artboard here. And we have this little preview button here in the top. It's called desktop preview. If you click on that preview button, you get like a really big window already, so which shows you the preview. And everything here is interactive. So if you hover over the search bar, you already see that it's clickable. If you click on it, you see that the typography disappears and you get this little arrow here on the top. So this is already working. What would be great is to have the option that if you click on the side of the search bar, go back to where you want to go. So deselect the search bar, for example. You can just do that by choosing the background. Many of you probably know this pattern by different apps are integrating that. If you select something and then click on the background, you automatically like deselect that and get out of the process kind of. So let's try that. Nice. Okay, perfect. So that's working out pretty well. This is an easy task, or an easy one, but already really helpful to send that to developers, because what you can do now is if you are in the preview button, you are able to record it here. So you have this little circle here. If you click on record, you can record a movie and send that to a developer, for example, also to your stakeholders or designers. Another really cool option is enable microphone. So if you are guiding them through a whole flow, you can enable the microphone and talk in the meantime. So explain a little bit your thoughts about the whole design process, and then save everything as a video. I think it's a MOV, and then send that to your developer. So pretty easy. And yeah, what we are going to do now, we are going to prototype different interactions here. But before we're going to do that, we need to design a few more elements in the design mode. So we're going to switch back to the design mode here. It's not a problem to go back and forth, as often as you want. And every time you realize there's something missing, you can go back. Because what we need here is a button which guides us to the next option, right? So we have what do you want to explore, and after that we have how do you plan to travel, and we also need to integrate the different kind of transportation options, right? So we need to integrate a navigation here so that you can go back at every time, and you have the option to go to the next slide after you selected something. So what we're going to do now is we're going to design the buttons. My recommendation is to use the Icons for Design plugin. I think it's super awesome. I love this. It helps so much to speed up the whole process because you don't really need to look online for designs or so, but you can just use the icons here. So what we're going to...
Sorry, Patricia, I'm jumping in. There was a question about how you got the blur effect in the search bar, and when was that through a plugin as well? I know you covered this yesterday.
So actually, Adobe XD just released this as a new feature, I think like a few months ago. And you can find it on the site in the inspector panel. You have all the options here with fill, border, shadow, also with like the background blur. Like you can see, we have the fill and white. And if you click on background blur, it blurs and gives this little like glassy look. Also, this is something looks really beautiful in a design, but great to talk to a developer at that point and ask them, can you actually integrate that? Is that possible? Depends a little bit on the coding language you're using, but I remember that I designed, I had a really big web project for a really big client, and we couldn't integrate anything like that. So it wasn't possible. We talked with the developers, and then in the end we found a nice solution, which looked different, but was working out. And there it was so helpful to talk with them in the very beginning. So, we can't say that enough. Good conversation is the best you can do. And you have all the tools here and all the resources to share everything with your team, developers, stakeholders, whatever.
Yeah, and just quickly as a quick recap, can you just show where you get the plugins to everybody? I know there's a couple of questions in the chat about where we get them.
Sure. So you have the three little options here. I don't know if you see the little buttons here. This one is plugins. So here you have like all the items, all the folders and everything. And here you have the assets, so the library. So if you click here at the very bottom on this little icon here, you go to the plugins. And like you see, I already installed a lot of plugins, right? So different ones which I can recommend. So just make a screenshot if you want to download a few good ones. I can definitely recommend those. I always download them, even though I needed to reinstall my whole Adobe XD system or on another MacBook. I always use those on a almost daily basis. And what you can do here is you have this little plus icon. So if you just click on the plus icon, you can download more plugins. So you have different options, discover. Here are a few ones which they call it essential. Undraw is also really nice. They provide free illustrations. Super cool way to get cool illustrations in your design if you don't have a big budget or if you're not an illustrator. Just look around, browse a little bit through all the plugins. Like you can see, there are so many. And if you are a developer, as a JavaScript developer, you can also design your code your own plugins, which is awesome, I think. I met a few developers actually who designed the, where is it? I think it was the Google Sheets Adobe XD connection plugin. Amazing. So,
wow.
Yeah, right? So cool. Yeah, and here you can see the ones I installed.
And Patricia, there was a question about the recording with the differences between a Mac and a PC. And I can see you use a Mac. Is the recording experience the same for PC, do you know?
That's a really good question. I must say that I don't know. I haven't used the PC version, but I'm pretty sure it's the same. I think
Hi,
it
stream.
would make
Tim
sense.
here, avid Windows user. Thank you very much. It's not the same, and you have to use the Windows toolbar to do that. The game mode, Windows and the G key. All right, bye, stream.
Amazing. Okay, great. Okay, that's great. Good to know. I didn't know that. Okay. So what you can see here is I designed like a little back icon for the navigation. I'm going to group that now as a group, and we'll call that nav back. Also something which is helpful to talk with a developer about, like how should you name specific elements, right? Because you're going to share a file, and sometimes they like to have a specific names for elements, like navigation, for example. And we're going to make a component out of this. Sadly, we hadn't time for that yesterday, so we're going to do that now. So you can either click on Command K or click on component in this little plus icon. Make sure that you have the whole group selected with all the elements in it. If you click here on the little plus sign, you will see that the component appears in the little component area here. So the good thing about that is you can just drag and drop that to other pages as well. And then you have the same component on another artboard. And if you decide to change the design here, for example, we think like, how about blue? And this should be white. Then it changes on all the artboards, replaced the specific element. So this is really helpful, especially if you have like a really big file and a lot of elements. It saves you a lot of time in the end. So we are going to do the same with the button, because we haven't designed a button yet for next. So let's do that here.
And it's so good to see that all of this is in XD. Like you're doing everything from the application itself.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's kind of funny, because when I started with UX, I used a lot of different tools, like one for prototyping, one for like research analysis, one for design, another one for like presentation. And it was sometimes a little bit difficult because you had so many files, and especially if you are a really big team, then sometimes it gets kind of messy, right? And this is the good thing with Adobe XD. You have everything sorted out here. And you can also see all the previous versions here, right? Like every time I did something in the file, like you can see I started this morning to do some little changes, and you can go back to the older versions as well, which is really nice, especially if you're working there with a big team.
Oh, yeah. And I have a question for you about auto reframe, because we're designing this specifically for an iPad. And of course, we want it to be there it is, responsive resize. Sorry, I should have said that at the start. But you want this to be able to be a good user experience, and not everyone will have an iPad. Some people will be using, I don't know, other tablets. Will this design process change to make sure that we can make it responsive to different sizes, or?
Yeah, good point. So usually you would start with the smallest design you can think of. So this could be your iPhone design or whatever is the smallest size, because it's always easier to go bigger than going smaller. But you have the option to do the responsive resize option, like what you can see here, and do specific changes, right? So we have those in groups already, and then you can place elements on specific areas. So let's see how that goes. We can just like take the artboard here. I'm going to leave that here, and I'm going to show that like really quick. What's always good is to place specific things on areas. So if you have this little button here on the top, you can either have like auto, or you can say like manual. And then you can place that, for example, on the top and the bottom, so it's not moving. And then this could be auto. Yes, this should stay there actually. Great. The button should manual. Great. So like it already knows where to place those. And if you have like a web, for example, could be something like that. And you just copy paste the design here. Could also be a little bit longer. Change the background color. And then
it's so fast, isn't it? It's much faster than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it's actually pretty fast and helps a lot because you can do a few adjustments, for example. So in this case, I would rather recommend to like sort them a little bit more together, for example, and this could be a little bit more on the top, for example, on the side, so that it looks a little bit more like a web design project. But in the end, it saves you a lot of time because you don't really need to sort them out like manually. There's also another really cool thing, which is called stacks. It's got released, I think like just a month ago or so. And it's pretty nice because what you can do here, I don't know if you see that. Maybe I need to go a little bit more close. But what you can see here is all of the elements here, all of the 6 elements are in a group, and I can just move them. And then like the other ones are like going to the other places, right? So this is like super helpful. Before you needed to do that manually. So still something, which like saves you so much time. Yeah, amazing.
Thanks for showing.
Yeah, of course. It's like so nice. I always love things which save you time in the end. And like all the pixel pushing is so annoying. So if you don't need to do that, that's amazing. Like all the help we're getting from a software is like so valued and so helpful for us. So we are going to select. We are going to click on that little group here, and then here it is. And then we could, let me see what works well here. We have the illustration, the hiking. So what we could do here is we could select one and then go to the next one. So we definitely have like a back and forth. So what I did here is actually I integrated PNGs. That works pretty well with the repeat grid. So like you can see here are all the different PNGs I designed. I exported them, and I'm going to show you how in a second. And then I integrated them in the design. So how you can export PNGs now, just select an artboard or an object you want, click on File, click on Export, and then on Selected, the one you selected, right? And then you have different options. PNG works pretty well, and this is a design, so you can just export that. And we are going to export one with the selected option. So what kind of colors do we have there? Let's see what works well. Could be something like that, or it could also be like a darker blue, right? So we have a blue here, so this could be a darker blue, right? Red, I think let's go with the darker blue, right? Okay, so we have that, and okay, great. And then we're going to go to export, select it on desktop. Exactly, going to export it. So if we want to select the camping here, we are going to go to Desktop, Illustrations, and then put this here. Great. Let's go back to Prototype, because what happens actually between those two screens is that we are going to select one of the cards here, right? So we are going to click on the camping. We have this little wire thing here. Going to drag that to this artboard here. Tab works. We have transition. We have search. That is this. Dissolve. Perfect. Okay, that works. And if we click on that again, we deselect it, right? So if we click on that again, we're going to go back. So let's test that. I always test everything right away just to make sure that I selected the right options and that it's working out pretty well. So we have our artboard here. Like we can see, we need to fix the navigation. It should stay there, and the typography should actually stay on top, but we're going to fix that later. First, we're going to go check if the interaction here works. Okay, like you can see, it works. Select it. Great. So let's fix that real quick. Going to go back to design, and then select the both areas here. Like you can see, one is in the top, and then place that in the very top. Same with that. In the top here, where you have all your layers. And then fix position when scrolling. We need to make sure that this is checked. Fix position when scrolling. And then try that again. Okay, nice. But yeah, what we can see here is we need to check if this really makes sense to have the navigation as the same color as the cards, both blue at the moment. So what would be helpful probably is to choose another color for that. So it's really easy for the user to understand which color stands for, which kind of elements in the end. So that's working. Perfect. So we also need to make sure that we go back when we click on the little back button here. So we have we are going to go back to prototype, not in the design mode, and we're going to link it with this screen here, and we're going to go back to this screen, right? That makes sense. And let's see. This brings us to the next screen. So after we selected one of the areas, we're able to click next. So this would actually be deselected, I guess, because I'm just thinking it wouldn't make sense for the user to click on next if he hasn't selected anything. So first he should select something, and after that, he should be able to click on next, because otherwise, without a selection, it will be difficult to give them a good suggestion.
Yeah. And we're just over halfway now, Patricia. If you have any questions for Patricia, I know there's a few coming in today, get in touch with us on Behance. We're at behance.net/live.
Yeah, exactly. Feel free to ask any questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm really excited actually to see your designs. So I think it's a really great chance for you. Like a 1-year Creative Cloud subscription is, I think, pretty nice.
Definitely.
So like you can see, I just disabled. I just integrated another component here, which is another button, the one which is disabled. So after I selected one of the objects, I'm able to go to the next artboard, which is this one. Go back to prototype. Okay.
And there's a question from Sandrine who says, what would you do if you had multiple choice of wanting to go somewhere for eating and for camping? Is that going to be an option? Is that something you'd speak to the developer about, or is it something that you would program, also prototype here?
I would definitely prototype that here. And it's actually also possible and really easy with Adobe XD. It's just a little bit more advanced. I can show that like real quick for the people who are watching who are maybe a little bit more advanced. Because what you can do here is, if you go back to the design mode, you are able to, oh, sorry, it's a prototype. Because you can select different, you have the little component area here. And if you click on that, you can select different states. So you can have multiple options for every component. You know, if you have, if you want to select different artboards here, without this feature here, you would have like a lot of different screens with like all the options, right? But now you can have a specific interaction for each little element, right? So that's really nice for prototyping and really helpful. And regarding the development, of course, that's super important to talk about that in the beginning, because this changes the whole information structure, right? Because in the end, like for the developer who is coding the back end, needs to come up with an algorithm which really like sorts all the places, all the places people want to travel based on the selection. And they are all getting a specific, like, how would I say, like a number kind of, okay, this is hiking, this is camping, this is swimming. So they need to change the way how they put things in the backend kind of. I hope I explained it well. But generally, I think it's a good question. It makes sense to talk about that in the beginning, like what kind of selections make sense. Can you select more than one? Can you select all? Can you select just one option? What really makes sense at that point? Exactly. Good question.
Cool. And there was another question from Gareth about the need for re-exporting artwork and then re-importing it. And that was with the camping image that you changed the background from blue to black. What was the need for that instead of just recoloring that image?
Okay, wait, let me see. Recoloring the image. So it depends a little bit how you get your files or your assets. There are two ways. One is you get that as an SVG. So this is vector based, super nice for developers because it's you can scale that. It's great for them to integrate, especially if you want to do any resizing. You won't have problems with pixels. If you have PNGs, then it works a little bit different because if you have a PNG, you need to export all your designs in different sizes and also different colors. The developer can't do the coloring. They can do it if it's an SVG, right? Then it's possible. But if it's a PNG, like those, you need to do the coloring and give them the assets in the correct size. So most of the times they're asking for SVGs.
Fab. So I think you've actually answered Sandrine's question at the same time there, because Sandrine asked earlier about the preference of file type or export.
Yeah.
Perfect. Nice one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also something you talk with the development about. What kind of, how do you need the design? I had developers I worked with who said it's fine if you just share your Adobe XD file with us. Amazing, right? Because they were able to export their own things. Of course, I exported things for them, but they could use the elements they needed because they were like really advanced and had a lot of experience with design generally. So it was amazing to work with them. It was like a really good collaboration. But other developers want like the perfect PNG size in a folder in all the different formats and everything. That's also completely fine. You just need to know it so you're able to provide the information they need. Also with the same naming. That's sometimes like a little bit tricky if you name them differently and they are not able to find them or things like that, especially if you change names in the process, right? Because they are already called, like they gave them a name in their like back-end structure. And if you change the name, the system is not going to find that. So there you have a lot of errors and difficulties.
Do you know, that's one of the biggest tips I think I picked up on Adobe live streams, is that it's the organization at the start and naming things so that if somebody else was to come in and work on your project, they could see, you know, where everything is. So yeah, another
Exactly.
way.
Exactly. That's a really good point. So let's group that. Going to Pete grid and just different ways of transportation. We also have bike, train. You can see I already used the I used the repeat grid here as well, so it's kind of easy. And I have a few icons prepared. They're actually from Font Awesome, all in PNG format, and I can just check them and put them here in the little in the area here. Most of the times I still need to adjust them, which is not a problem at all, but it saves me a lot of time because I can just get a whole folder, place them there and adjust them. It's so much faster than placing them there, like, you know, item by item by item. So the only thing which, yeah,
your car and walking icons are the...
They just need to be, so this is walking actually, so.
Oh, there you go.
Walking, bike, train, and car.
Wow.
Great. A bit smaller. Okay. Great. So we are going to select something here. So this would be the selected screen. Going to name that a little bit later, so we can also ungroup that. We are going to take the train and also choose a specific distance for that. Right, so that transportation, that's distance, exactly, nice. So we just integrated a new color, which we need to add here as well. So it's this color. So if we want to choose the train, going to get the color here, add it to our color palette, and then make an adjustment. So a distance probably would be like 0, right, in the beginning. And we will get that to, we're going with the train, so be like 200 kilometers. Be somewhere like here. So let's go back real quick to the prototype section because we have another option here. We are going to, we need actually 2 screens here. So we're going to move that real quick to the side, go back to design, and then integrate 2 steps. So here we have selected that exactly, and then group that. So we have that all together, and then place that here. So we're going to select the first one, and after that, the second one. Great. So delete that. Nice. Don't need that. We don't need that. We're going to use here is the primary button redesigned. So can place that here. Another thing which is important, what you can see now, is I started by like putting an illustration in the background, but it's kind of difficult to see now with the button, so it makes sense to change that a little bit, right? Change the position on all the screens, copy file, and then place that in the back. So next. Okay, great. This looks good. The illustration here as well. and then in the back. Okay, don't need that. Perfect. Okay, let's go back to the prototype mode, and then we're in prototyping, and then what do we want to select here? We're going to click on the train. So very similar than the one we've already done. So we're going to connect that here, and then we're going to do going to set the distance here. We're going to use this little circle here to change the distance we're able to go or to drive or to walk, and connect that with the screen here. But this will be a little bit different because this won't be tap. This will be dragging, right? Because in the end, the interaction would be that you actually move the little circle and can adjust that. Okay. See how that works. Going to test that right now. Let's open that up and then, okay. Ooh. Let's see what's not working. Did I choose the right one? Here we go. This is a drag. It's auto-animate. Auto-animate could work. We have the same. So let's go back to the file. And then what's really important actually is that you make sure when you choose auto-animate, I'm going to show you what that is in a second, that you have exactly the same names for both elements, right? So we call that rectangle. We're going to call that circle because it's actually a circle. And then we have another circle here. Okay. Should work now. Okay, let's test that. Oh, on artboard. Let's click on. You always see the artboard you selected in the preview mode, so make sure you select the right artboard. So, okay, now it's working.
And Patricia, Tim mentioned in the chat that some of these steps could be solved with states, and that would be probably a bit too much for this masterclass. What are states?
So states is the thing what I just mentioned actually with the multiple selections. States is actually like a really, I would say like amazing feature. I think they integrated a year ago or so, which helps you so much. Because what you can do, I will show that real quick because we still have a lot of time left. So we have those little buttons here, which you can click, right? We have the icon here, we have the typography, and we have the background. If we group that and make a component out of this, right, with Command K, we are able to see this little component area here on the side. And there we define the default state. But we can define different states, right? So this is what Tim just mentioned. If we click on the plus, we can create another state, either new state or also hover state. Hover is not so interesting if we are on the iPad or on mobile, but for web, it's really great. So if we are clicking on new state, we get a little section here, and we can call that selected, and we can create another one with deselected. If we're switching between those two, nothing has changed. But what we can do is we can make the changes now. So we are in the deselected state, and we are going to choose the design we have designed here. So go back to the design thing here, and there we see that. And if we switch between selected and deselected, we have two options here. We have selected and deselected. So let's go real quick to the prototype mode because there is where the real magic is happening. So if we're clicking on the deselected mode and click on plus interaction, we have different options. For example, tap, and then we have the selected state, So we can choose the selected state. That's actually this state. So you cannot only like make an interaction to another artboard, but also to another state you defined above. So we are going to do the same with the selected state, so that every click makes the, so let's test that real quick. Oh, need to select the right artboard. Close that again, select this artboard, click on the preview button. And what you can see here now is you can select this area. And if you do that with the other designs here as well, you are able to click on multiple options without designing different screens for them. So you have all the interactions on one screen. In the beginning, it might sound a little bit complicated, but it's actually pretty easy and saves so much time. Unbelievable. Okay, so I think this was really nice to see, right?
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
Of course, that's a really nice new feature, I think. So another thing what we can do is we talked about the auto-animate, right? And auto-animate means, we are in the prototype mode at the moment, is that things are animated automatically from one screen to the other if they're named, if they have the same name. Illustration, explore. So we're going to give them name, explore, great. Same here. And if we, for example, want to move them a little bit on the way, we could also do that, and this will happen automatically. So let's go back to the screen now and move that. And what you see is that everything we designed here and has another position but the same name moves automatically. You can imagine that as things you are designing in After Effects, for example, if you have position 1 and position 2, and everything what happens in between is animated automatically. That's the reason why you call that auto-animate. So why is it auto-animated automatically? If we click on the interaction we defined here, we chose auto-animate. If we go to see what have we can choose another transition like dissolve, for example, and we're going to see that it's not animated like that. Let's try that out real quick. Did you see that? It just switched to the other artboard. So there was no transition, no auto animation. So we're going to switch that back to animation and then check that out again. Nice. Perfect. So it's working out pretty well. Okay. Another thing which is super nice is integrating voice design. This is something I find like super fascinating and interesting, not only because I'm designing for a lot of like futuristic projects, but also because like voice assistants and smart assistants are becoming much more like popular, and also for us as designers, UX designers, it's important to be able to prototype ideas. And you don't need to do that with like After Effects or Keynote and make that like super complicated with like all the different things, but you can create your own voice assistant prototype in Adobe XD. And this actually works pretty similar than all the prototyping we already did. So imagine you are sitting on the on your kitchen table and want to go somewhere, want to explore something with your family, and you don't really want to like get your phone, type everything in. You just want to talk right away to your Amazon Alexa device or to your Amazon Show, in the best case, where you have a screen integrated. And you can just say what you need, what you want, and then it gives you the results. maybe if it doesn't have all the information it needs, it would probably integrate a few more questions. For example, if we are starting here on the home screen, and we're going to add in the prototype section, we're in the prototype section right now, we're going to add a voice trigger, because we can, of course, add the typing here, but we can add multiple interactions and multiple ways to prototype. So how about integrating like a voice prototype feature? We just clicked on the area here on the little plus and connected that with the next screen. But this time we are not going to choose the drag or a tab or whatever. We already used the tab, right, for this. We're going to use voice. So what would we probably say? We would probably say something like, hey Alexa, we would like to explore
the UK.
The UK, perfect. Like to explore the UK. And then it will guides us to the next screen. And we could also integrate like a voice interaction here, right? So if we are getting to this screen, we could add an interaction with the little plus icon here. So the trigger is not voice, but this time it's time-based. So as soon as you get to that screen, like a voice interaction is integrated. We have a speech playback. So what would Alexa probably say? We have also different names you can choose from, also man. That's great. What do you want to explore? Do you want to go hiking? Swimming, or what is that? Camping. Okay. We can test that now. Just need to make sure that we are saying the right thing. Hey Alexa, we would like to explore the UK. Okay. So it works like that you go into the preview mode here by clicking on the little play button. You click on the space bar, and then you say the words like, hey Alexa, we would like to explore the UK. Hey Alexa, we would like to explore the UK. Did you hear that?
Yeah. Yeah, that was
okay,
me.
Great. Okay, perfect, because it's connected to my earpods, so I wasn't sure if you heard that. So what you just heard was the speech playback. So if you insert something like could be a specific voice trigger, you also get the speech playback, which is a natural conversation. And feel free to integrate that in your prototype as well. Like you saw, it's super easy to integrate. So make sure to just check that out, play around. And the best thing is actually, I just want to show that because I think it's so nice. You can test that on your Amazon Alexa device. So if you have an Amazon Show, for example, you can test that on your device, which is pretty cool. Just download here in the plugin sections. I think it's called Alexa. I just need to check where it is. Alexa Preview. And then you can try it on your Alexa device, which is also really cool.
Nice. And there's a quick question from Maria in the chat, as I know we're getting to the end of the live stream. Would you have any suggestions for resources on voice design and new technologies such as VR or AR design?
Yeah, amazing that you asked that, because there is a really great resource online, which I can recommend, especially for voice design. So Google Material Design provides a lot of really great resources. So just click on Google, go on Google and search for Google Material Design voice design. And they're providing a lot of really nice sounds. You can integrate rules, how to design for voice, a lot of tips and tricks. Besides that, their documentation of the whole design system is pretty well. So great recommendation for everyone who are just starting with design libraries. Check out the design libraries of the big players like Google, Apple. You can download them for free and just check them out. Check out all the distances and how it looks. You can download them for Adobe XD and just play around with it. So I think this is really helpful for the beginning. And around like resources for like futuristic design and things like that. I am not sure if I already mentioned that, but I also have a podcast about that topic. So if you're interested in that, make sure to check that out. It's called Future of UX. So might be interesting for you. If not, that's also okay. But I'm talking about those topics with different like leading figures in the design industry. So yeah, really nice. And they're sharing a lot of really cool tips and tricks. Yeah.
Fab. And I know that we're at the top of the hour. We can go over just a little bit just to show everybody how we share our XD artboards. Because of course there is a competition. We're going to be announcing, we need all of the entries in by 9 a.m. UK time on Monday to win a year's Creative Cloud subscription. How do we share these artboards? How do we do?
So, we haven't talked yet about like the third option here, but it's the share option. And you have, you can select the artboard which you want to share and then create a new link for that and share the link with us. You have different options here, for example, development, and there you get information which are interesting for the development. These are like hex codes, distances, etc. You can share user testing, that's really nice, presentation, custom, but for us, design review is interesting, or also user testing, whatever you prefer, but design review is nice because we can write like comments and maybe give you a little bit of feedback. So create the link and make sure that you have that like open for anyone with the link and not only for invited people for this competition. Generally, of course, only for invited people, but for us, also
Definitely.
password is also.
And Tim has put the link to Discord in the chat as well. So that's where you submit your entries to. It's been a lovely 3 days with you, Patricia. XD is a really great tool. And I think it's been great going from the concept to the design and into the prototyping. I've definitely learned a lot.
That's great to hear. I mean, there are so many more things to talk about and to explore. I think this was just the beginning. But I think like for those of you who followed the whole 3 days, probably know the basics. So you are ready to get started. Because like I thought in the beginning, I remember we had this conversation like 3 years ago when I said like Adobe XD is no rocket science. You can learn the tool pretty fast and then it's all about like practicing and like learning skills, trying things out, learning. Everything
So
around
true.
learning.
And Kirsty in the chat earlier was saying that she picked it up, got a little frustrated, put it away, but then picked it back up today and is actually getting on with it a little bit better. So that's great, Kirsty. I would advise everyone do the same. I'm doing the same as well. So thank you, Patricia. Our next masterclass will be in September. The topic is to be confirmed, so we'll let you know. But we'll, of course, be back tomorrow with Tony at the same time at midday. Thanks, everyone, for joining, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Bye, everyone.
Amazing. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining. Bye.